So now let's look at this one. This one's got quite a bit more. First of all, this is a group. Ungroup everything. I'm sure there are a few other groups inside there. So I should be able to grab this. When I move this over, this is one shape. It appears to be one shape, and it has a drop shadow, has no stroke, it has a fill of a gradient that is a linear gradient. It has a drop shadow. So any shape, I'll just make a shape here. It comes in with a gradient. Whoops. I'm going to assign it a drop shadow, effect, stylize, drop shadow. And I can say preview, and that's probably a little bit too far over, so I'm going to take it down. And whoops. Yeah, it is probably too blurry too. So a little bit more, and there we go. So each of these shapes, when you want to see what they have on them, you can select a shape and figure out from the appearance panel what's all going on with it. So you also want to learn the appearance panel, because you don't want to go, okay, I'm going to change that drop shadow, so stylize drop shadow. It's going to say, oh, you already have one. What would you like to do? Another one? Cancel that and just go in and change your drop shadow inside this appearance panel. And that's another example of how each of these things that Illustrator kind of offers is there's a dynamic quality to each of them. They're changeable and you can change them on the fly. All right, this is different. When I bring this out, I've got something different. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go to Object, Blend, my blend options, and rather than smooth color, I'm going to change that to specified steps and preview. Oh, that's got 132 steps. Let's give it 10. And that's what's really going on. So if I want to use that in some way, let's say I want to make this shape that goes behind there. I'm going to get a rectangle. Let's see if I can do this, a rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and with my rectangle, I'm going to add another point here. Of course, I didn't get it in the middle. I tried, but I couldn't. Okay, so I'd like to make this round. There are several ways I can make this round. I can go to the gradient and then, well, that looks pretty good. But what if I wanted to do it slightly different way? I'm going to make this a little bit darker. And I'm going to select this, edit, copy, edit, paste in front. And I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller than the other one that's behind it. Hold down my Option key and I'll get it from both sides. So I've basically got exactly the same shape. It's a little bit narrower, and I'm going to take these two. Basically, I just have this. I'll undo that. I'm going to select them both, get the blend tool, zoom in, and I'm going to blend from point to point, point to point. And I have something that is, when I select it, it's all blended. It's part of the blend options. It's dynamic. So now when I say, okay, the front shape of this, I want to make it a little bit lighter, it'll compensate further down. Let's say I want to take this front shape and make it a little narrower still. Whoops. I'm going to bring it in, hold my Option key down, bring it in, and I've got something like that. That works, so that's another way to get that point. So that's the blend tool. The blend tool has many different kinds of things to experiment with. Blend options, release your blend. That gets me back to before I actually blended something. And they're actually, it's quite a powerful tool, and you could experiment with it more, but we're in this case just trying to use it to get at kind of an appearance that we want for these metallic objects. But when you want to take your blended item and kind of solidify it, or maybe not really rasterize it, but take it out of being dynamic. So here's my appearance panel. I go to, it tells me I've got a blend on that. So when I want to select this and go Object, Expand, I can expand it here or here. I would go Expand, and now I don't have anything that tells me that this is a blend tool again. And what I do have is a series of shapes that the blend tool has created to give me that effect that I was looking for. It doesn't have to be exactly like I just did that there. I'm going to do, let's say, let me do this shape. Like I said, you can experiment with this. I'm going to give this a darker color, and I'm going to create an entirely different shape with a different set of points, and I'm going to give that a lighter color, and I'm going to select all these. I don't want that. Select them both and get my blend tool, and in this case I have to figure out what points I want to blend to, so I've got to pick them out. That works. I'm going to undo that. If I blended from something like this, okay, wait. That also works, but you can see a little bit of a twisting happening there. And undo, and one more. Let's say it wouldn't, unless I want this effect, I don't want to go like that one. That worked actually as well. It's nice that, okay, let me get these back blended. One more thing that's pretty nice about this is, okay, let's say I've decided I'm going to change this not to gray, because I don't have to do grays. Oh, let me think. Okay, color. I've got to actually do this with RGB. So what happened was, when I can choose my colors from grayscale, RGB, HSB, CMYK. So it wasn't actually recognizing that there was red there. So the same as this. So I'm going to call this RGB, and I'll give this a different color, and I can do some crazy things.